Oh man, are you guys excited for the epic battle between Ox and Tiger? Well, too bad. Here's some lame-ass backstory. Well, Juni Taisen is almost over, and I'm still not really feeling the show at this point. There was so much hype at the beginning of Juni Taisen for me. That first episode was so good. The second episode had a fantastic twist ending, and it seems like after they started, like, really officially, like, killing everybody earlier on in the series, they're like, you know what? These characters need 2 episodes of backstory devoted to all of them. Who wants to see a crazy free-for-all battle of a bunch of crazy people who are cosplaying in a giant city and wanting to kill each other that take all the crazy gems out of their bodies? Who'd want to see that crazy spectacle? You know, I like backstory. I love getting to know a character so that I can actually care about them when they're in a dangerous situation, but the way that it was handled in this series was terrible. In the first half, the backstories were so swift, and they integrated into the story where they were so much more entertaining. Like, the first episode made you care about the character of Boar immediately from her amazingly detailed and rich backstory, which was just as fun to watch as the actual episode. And it also happened to have a lot of parallels with the things that were going on in them. As the series went on, these backstories ended up getting dragged out and somehow turned into this, like, really crappy message about war is bad, but we do it anyway. And they basically repeat their messages a couple times. Like, there is a new backstory in this episode, which does not go into Ox's, unfortunately. It's basically just more of Tiger. And getting to learn about her relationship with him, we've always been trying to figure out, like, what's the deal with her having a rivalry with this guy? Like, what actually initiated it? And her reasoning behind it is simply that she just wants to show him up. She wants to impress him. She wants to show him how powerful she truly is. We get to go to another part of her backstory after she's been binge drinking for years and just completely solid snaking everyone. And she's in this, like, big global conflict where she gets found by the Ox. The Ox thinks that she's a child when she's injured, and he decides to save her. And they end up having this big philosophical discussion about what it means to be a hero and what are the ways to go about doing it, with the Ox really looking at it in, like, 2 ways, which is you decide what you're going to do, and you're just gonna do it. He's so black and white about it, it's almost scary, but it is fitting for his character, who is very black and white, despite the fact that he has an incredibly elaborate and ridiculous design. I was kind of hoping that we'd get a little bit more of his actual backstory, as I want to know what his deal is. Who is this Japanese dude with horns who dresses like a friggin' matador? What's his deal? Why is he so freaking powerful in the first place, and all he really seems to do is just have a sword? Like, what is his deal? That's what I want to know. Maybe we'll get it in the next episode, maybe we won't. But we do get their whole backstory, which for me didn't really do much. Really, though, I was waiting to see the battle between Ox and Tiger, which never happens at all. Like, it's getting ready to happen, the tension is there, it's raining, it's intense, and then all of a sudden there is a shocking twist, of course. The freaking body parts of Rabbit are starting to move on their own, and it gets ready to attack Ox. Tiger jumps in the way, ends up getting impaled, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. Aside from, of course, the final moment where Tiger decides that in order to get out of this thing without becoming the next puppet of the Necromancer, she's going to have Ox kill her. And, of course, this is very fitting for her. She's willing to go out this way for all of the terrible things that she's done. And for this person who's been such an important part of her life, it would be an honor to be killed by the Ox, and it would be an honor to end this series. What's the rundown on this episode of Juni Taisen? This has been a roller coaster of ups and freaking downs. There was so much potential for Juni Taisen to go down as this, like, amazing anime classic. Like, the premise itself is not really anything all that new, but, like, the execution in the first episode was handled so well with the introduction of these crazy characters, and the fact that they just threw you right in, and they never stopped the entire episode. You found yourself being engrossed, but just somewhere along the line as the series went on, it sort of lost its way. It's very obvious that it is indeed based on material which delves into the backstory of these characters a lot more, and in that format, it's probably a lot more digestible. Mostly because it was made for a format like that. This is going to be a 12-episode anime series, and they had to sort of pick and choose and dissect what parts were most important for the TV anime, and ultimately, I think it suffers for it. They should have just went all in and made this like either a movie series, which I think would have really benefited it a lot, an OVA, or better yet, a much bigger season of the anime. Give us 24 episodes. Give us freaking 50 if you have to do it. But do it well. I think that would make this series stand out just a little bit more, as I feel there's a lot of backstory that we are missing, or maybe even some important details. Maybe it works better as a visual manga, or a visual novel, whatever the heck it is. I still don't quite know what those things are. Is it a novel with some pictures in it? Isn't that just a book? I don't know. Why does it have to have a special name? The point is, I just feel that Juni Taisen has lost its way. For me, it's a major disappointment, but who knows? Maybe the finale could completely change that, but those last 2 episodes would have to be freaking amazing. Like, maybe the best stuff that I've ever seen to sort of win me over at this point. And I have a feeling that's not going to happen. What I will say is, Juni Taisen is an okay anime series. It's not the best, and I am dogging it a little bit, and I feel bad doing that because this is right after my Black Clover anime review, where I really use that thing as a whipping horse. But, like, this series, I don't know, I can't put it into words, really. I just feel slightly betrayed because the first episode was so good and my hype was so real. And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, like, it's going to get better. I know it's going to get better. It's going to be just like the first episode again, and it's going to encapsulate everything I loved about it. And the only time it ever really got close to that was in the last episode, but only during the action scenes. It really is because the first episode of the series is way too good. It's an absolute shame. In many ways, it also reminds me of the anime Soul Eater. That's another anime that, like, I think the first episode is so perfect, and then everything after that is good, but just never quite lived up to that first episode. It's a great hook. It's a great way for people to want to check out your anime series and to try and get some people on board, because there are going to be people like me who get interested enough to want to see how it's going to end, and by making that first episode look so great, that's exactly what they did. I really just want to see who's going to win it at this point, and with all of the people getting killed constantly in the last couple of episodes, I think we're just a little more closer to actually getting there. I can't wait to see how it's going to wrap up too, especially with the fact that Rabbit is still able to move around despite the fact that he's just a bunch of cut up body parts. And man, how creative was that, like in the episode when they were like using all the different body parts, the way they were moving around on the ground, or the fact that the actual intestines were moving up in the air to actually like tie them up and stuff. Like, that's really sick and twisted, but really creative. It is hampered a little bit by the fact that it is censored whenever there is something really violent on screen. You just see a lot of black, like you just don't see anything, which is kind of disappointing, to be perfectly honest. But overall, that seems to be the par for the course for Juni Taisen right here. I am going to stick it through to the end, and I cannot wait to give my final thoughts on the series. What I will say is, initially, my love for the series is, in hindsight, it really wasn't as strong as I thought it was. With every episode, it kind of just goes downhill just a little bit more. I was disappointed by this one, I'm not gonna lie. I still think it's a competent episode in some ways, like but there are some issues with it, and I hate how they keep dangling these epic battles in front of our faces, and they end up just taking them away. As is, for a series which is about all of these people in a city that are gonna like fight to the death, there's not that much fighting. You know, it's just the way it is. So there it is. That's my thoughts on this episode right here. For me, it's a 3 out of 5. It's very average. Nothing really that crazy. Nothing that bad either, though. It's still very watchable. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and you guys can tell me in the comments section below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more anime and manga reviews. If you like this video, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay down there, baby.